The closet smelled faintly of cedar and expensive cologne, the kind of scent that clung to tailored suits and power. Silk blouses brushed against her cheeks as she pressed her face into them, trying to quiet the sound breaking out of her chest. Her shoulders shook despite every effort to stay silent. She had mastered silence. It was how she survived here. For months, she had been perfect. Perfect posture behind the desk. Perfect timing with his coffee. Perfect composure when men with blood on their cuffs walked through the office doors and spoke in low voices about things that were never written down. She never asked questions, never reacted, never let her hands tremble, even when danger brushed past her like a loaded gun laid carelessly on a table. She was invisible by design. That was the rule she lived by. Be efficient, be quiet, do your job so well that no one ever looks too closely at you. But weeks of pressure had cracked something inside her, the unpaid bills tucked into her bag, the late-night phone calls she ignored until her voicemail filled up, the weight of responsibility that never eased, even when she slept, if she slept. And today, something small had finally pushed her past the edge, a single sharp word, a reminder she couldn't fix everything on her own. So she had slipped into the one place no one ever went. His private closet. It was reckless, foolish, but the door had been unlocked and the office empty, and she had only needed a minute, just one, a moment to breathe without eyes on her, to let the tears fall where they couldn't be seen. She hadn't expected him to come back. Outside the closet, the office hummed with quiet menace. This was the heart of an empire built on fear and loyalty. The walls had heard threats whispered like prayers, deals made that ruined lives, promises that ended in shallow graves. She worked in the middle of it every day, a calm presence in a storm, pretending the danger didn't brush against her skin. Inside the closet, she was just a woman with shaking hands and a heart that hurt too much. The sound escaped her before she could stop it, a broken breath, a sob dragged too sharply from her throat. And then the door opened. Light poured in, harsh and unforgiving, slicing through the dark like a blade. It burned her eyes, and she squeezed them shut in mortification, frozen where she knelt among the hanging clothes. Caught, exposed. A shadow filled the doorway. She didn't need to look to know who it was. The air changed when he entered a room, grew heavier, thinner, like the world had to work harder to keep breathing around him. Dante Valentino. 6'3" of controlled violence and authority. The man whose name made grown men straighten their spines. The man who signed documents that decided who stayed alive and who didn't. The man she served coffee to every morning at exactly 7:15. For one terrible second, she braced for anger, for cold dismissal, for punishment. Instead, there was silence. When she finally forced her eyes open, she saw him standing perfectly still, his expression caught between instinct and something she had never seen on his face before. Concern, real and unfiltered. His hand was already moving, muscle memory taking over as he reached for the gun at his side, then stopping. Slowly, deliberately, he holstered it, as if reminding himself she wasn't a threat, as if making a choice. The shift unsettled her more than shouting ever could have. "Ara," he said. Her name sounded different in his voice, softer, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with violence. He stepped inside the closet, and the space immediately felt too small. His presence swallowed the air, made her painfully aware of how close he was, of how exposed she was, kneeling on the floor with tear streaks drying on her face. She tried to speak, tried to apologize, to stand, to be professional again. His hand reached out first. Not rough, not impatient. 2 fingers under her chin, lifting her face just enough that she had no choice but to look at him. His eyes were storm gray, sharp enough to cut, but right now they searched her face like they were cataloging every tear, every crack in her composure. Something inside her chest splintered. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. The words weren't a question, they were a promise. She shook her head, breath hitching. "It's nothing, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be here, it won't happen again." His jaw tightened. The concern didn't fade. It deepened, hardened into something protective and dangerous. Ara, he said again, slower this time, deliberate. In 8 months, I've never seen you break. He crouched in front of her, lowering himself until they were eye to eye. The movement stole the breath from her lungs. Men like him did not make themselves smaller for anyone. So if you're crying in my closet, he continued, voice low and steady, someone made a mistake. Her pulse thundered in her ears. He leaned in just enough that his words brushed against her like a vow. Tell me who hurt you. He did not raise his voice. He did not step back. And somehow, that frightened her more than anger ever could. The door closed behind him with a soft sound, and the click echoed through the small space like a seal being broken. The world outside disappeared. No phones ringing. No footsteps. No men waiting for orders. Just the two of them. And the truth she had spent months burying. Dante Valentino knelt in front of her fully now. Not towering. Not commanding. But close enough that she could feel the heat of him. Close enough that the air shifted with every breath he took. His eyes did not leave her face. Not even when she tried to turn away. Not even when she pressed her lips together in a desperate attempt to hold herself together. You should not be here, he said quietly. Not accusing. Not angry. Just stating a fact. She swallowed hard. I know, sir. I just needed a minute. I didn't mean to interrupt your schedule. The words sounded weak even to her own ears. She hated that. Hated how small she felt right now. This was not who she was. At least not who she allowed anyone to see. For 8 months she had been perfect. The woman who never flinched. Never hesitated. Never showed fear when violence brushed past her desk like a shadow. She organized his world with calm hands. Color-coded files. Perfect reminders. Timed calls. She kept chaos in neat lines and called it professionalism. And he had noticed. You never interrupt anything he said. You never take breaks, you never complain. You stay late when I don't ask. You handle things men twice your size refuse to touch. His voice was steady, but something dark moved beneath it. Something controlled. When men come into my office, bleeding, you don't blink. When guns are placed on my desk, you don't react. When others are afraid, you sit there like none of it matters. He leaned closer. His presence filled the closet completely. So don't insult me by telling me this is nothing. Her chest tightened. Tears burned again, and she shook her head, refusing to let them fall. I am fine. Really. This was just a moment. It won't happen again. His hand lifted slowly. Not touching her yet. As if giving her time to pull away. It will, he said. Because you are human. The word landed harder than anything else he could have said. Human. She had spent so long trying to be invisible that she forgot she was allowed to feel. He finally touched her then. Not her face. Not her hair. But her wrist. 2 fingers resting over her pulse. Steady. Grounding. Your job is to keep my world running, he said. And you've done that flawlessly. His thumb pressed lightly against her skin, as if feeling the proof that she was real. My job is to notice when the person holding everything together starts to crack. Her breath broke. She hated it. Hated the weakness. Sir, please, she whispered. I don't want special treatment. His eyes darkened. Dangerous and focused. This isn't special treatment. He leaned in just enough that his voice dropped lower. This is protection. Something shifted between them. A line crossed without being named. His grip tightened just slightly. Not enough to hurt. Enough to promise. Someone pushed you to this, he said. Someone crossed a line. She opened her mouth to deny it. To lie. To protect herself the way she always had. But his gaze held her still. Unmoving. Unforgiving. And for the first time since she walked into this building, she realized he had never been blind to her at all. Tell me who hurt you, he said. And in that moment, with his voice steady and his presence unyielding, she understood that whatever she said next would change everything. She tried to speak. The words gathered in her chest like trapped air. But nothing came out. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Dante did not rush her. He stayed exactly where he was, kneeling, watching, waiting. His patience was terrifying. Say it, Ara, he said quietly. Whatever it is, say it. Her hands clenched in her lap, nails biting into skin, pain grounding her. My sister. The words fell out broken, small, but they changed the air. Dante did not blink. My sister Maya. She is 19. Her voice shook now. Once the first crack appeared, everything followed. They took her. Silence. Not the empty kind. The dangerous kind. The kind that comes before violence. Who she works for. Who her boss is. None of that mattered now. Who took her, Dante asked. His voice was calm. Too calm. She swallowed hard. The Volkov gang. His eyes changed. Not anger yet. Something colder. Something calculating. When? 3 days ago. His jaw tightened. Why? Our father. He owed money. Gambling debts. He died and left everything behind. She forced herself to keep going. If she stopped, she would fall apart completely. They said the debt passed to us. That blood doesn't disappear when someone dies. They want money. 500,000. She let out a broken breath. I don't have it. I will never have it. Dante stood. The movement was slow, controlled, but the space felt smaller. They sent pictures, she whispered. Every morning. To prove she is alive. Her shoulders caved inward. They said, if I go to the police, they will kill her. If I tell anyone, they will kill her. If I fail to pay, they will kill her. Her voice dropped to almost nothing. I didn't know what else to do. For a moment, he said nothing. He turned away from her. His back rigid. Hands clenched at his sides. She had seen him like this before. Right before orders were given. Right before lives ended. I am sorry, she said quickly. Panic rising. I should not have told you. This is not your problem. He turned back. It is now. The words were flat. Absolute. How long do they have her? 3 days. His eyes narrowed. Where? South Side. Near the old factory district. He nodded once. She watched him reach into his pocket. Pull out his phone. Dante, please. Her voice cracked again. Don't. He raised one finger. Not looking at her. Marco, he said into the phone. The name landed heavy. The man who always stood behind him. The one with the scar. The one people feared almost as much as Dante. Full mobilization. Nah. She stood suddenly. Heart pounding. You can't. This will start a war. He ended the call. Slowly. Then he looked at her. Someone already started it. His gaze softened just slightly when it met her face again. You have been trying to carry this alone. Working every day. Smiling. Pretending nothing is wrong. He stepped closer. No one should be that strong. She shook her head. I don't want blood. I just want my sister back. You will have her back. Certainty. Not hope. They will regret touching anything that belongs to me. The words sent a chill through her. Belongs. She should have been afraid. Instead, something warm and dangerous twisted in her chest. I didn't tell you, so you would destroy people, she whispered. He stopped in front of her. Then why did you tell me? She looked up at him. Eyes wet. Voice shaking. Because I was breaking. His hand came up, rested briefly on her shoulder. Then you did the right thing. Outside the closet, the world was already changing. And she had the terrible sense that there was no turning back now. She did not remember leaving the office. Only the sensation of movement and heat, and his hand at her lower back guiding her forward. The world blurred as the elevator descended. Numbers changing silently. Doors opening and closing. Men stepping aside without speaking. Everyone moved when Dante Valentino walked. No one asked questions. The garage smelled of oil and cold concrete. Black vehicles waited in a perfect line, like obedient animals. Doors opened before she reached them. "This is not necessary," she said softly. Her voice sounded distant even to herself. "I can go home." His hand tightened just enough to stop her. "Not painful. Final." "No, you can't." The words were simple. Absolute. Home is where you are visible. Where you are alone. Where someone can grab you without consequences. He looked down at her then. Really looked. That won't happen. The car door closed and sealed them inside. The engine started. The city slid past the windows. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, trying to breathe, trying to process. This was not how her life worked. She followed schedules, rules, logic. This was chaos. "You are safe," he said after a moment. His voice lower now. Controlled. She almost laughed. Almost cried. Safe was a word she had not felt in weeks. "Where are we going?" she asked. "My penthouse." The answer landed heavy. She had worked for him 8 months. She knew it existed. Everyone did. No one was invited. She should have argued. Should have said no. Should have insisted on boundaries. Instead, she leaned back against the seat. Exhaustion crashing over her. The doors opened to silence and space. Glass and shadow and height. The city spread below like something conquered. He guided her inside. Lights coming on automatically. Warm. Intentional. "Sit," he said gently. The words startled her more than commands ever did. She sank onto the sofa, legs trembling now that adrenaline faded. He disappeared briefly. The sound of water. Cups. When he returned, he set a mug in her hands. Tea. The warmth seeped into her fingers. Anchored her. "My mother used to make this when I was overwhelmed," he said quietly. "Before she died." She looked up then. Really up. It was the first time he had offered something real. Not power. Not protection. But history. "I am sorry," she said. He shook his head. "Don't apologize for grief." Silence stretched. Comfortable. Dangerous. "You should understand something, Ara," he said. His back to the windows now. City lights framing him. "I have known about your father's debts for months." Her breath caught. "I had my men make sure no one pushed you too hard." Her pulse thundered. "You were watching me. Protecting you." The distinction mattered to him. She could hear it. She should have been angry. Felt violated. Instead, relief flooded her so sharply it hurt. "I wondered why they stopped calling," she whispered. "Because I told them to." He stepped closer. "From the moment you walked into my office, you carried yourself like someone who refused to break. Even when you were drowning." His voice dropped. And I noticed. Something inside her shifted. Something dangerous. "This feels like a cage," she admitted. His eyes held hers. "It is a shield. Both can be true." He reached out. Paused. Then brushed his thumb under her eye, wiping away the last trace of tears. "You are under my protection now." The words should have terrified her. Instead, they settled over her like something inevitable. Outside the windows, the city kept breathing. unaware that somewhere high above it, a line had been crossed, and nothing about her life would ever be small again. Night settled over the penthouse like a held breath. The city lights below pulsed softly, but up here everything felt suspended, as if time itself was waiting. Ara stood near the window hugging herself, watching reflections instead of the view, trying to recognize the woman staring back at her. She did not look like a secretary. Not tonight. Dante stood a few steps behind her, far enough to give space, close enough that she could feel him without turning. "You should rest," he said quietly. "Tomorrow will not be gentle." She nodded but did not move. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have spent my whole life surviving by staying small." He shifted closer. "Slow. Deliberate. And yet here you are." She let out a shaky breath. "Everything feels wrong. And somehow right. And that terrifies me." "Good," he replied. "Fear keeps you honest." She turned then, finally facing him. "You talk about protection like it is simple. Like it does not cost anything." His expression darkened. "It costs everything." Silence stretched between them. Thick. Charged. "You want to know why I am doing this?" he asked. She nodded. "Because I saw you the first day you walked into my office." Nervous smile. Straight back. Hands steady, even when mine would not have been. His voice dropped. "You looked at me like I was a man. Not a legend. Not a monster." He stepped closer. Close enough now that her pulse jumped. "I have been watching you for months. How you give more than you take. How you disappear so others can stay comfortable." Ara swallowed hard. "That is not obsession," she said. "That is curiosity." His mouth curved slightly. "Not humor. Truth. No. Obsession is knowing the exact moment you arrive every morning. Obsession is recognizing your footsteps. Obsession is wanting to pull you out of this world and lock the doors." Her heart pounded. "You should not say that." "I know." His hand lifted, hovered, then rested lightly at her waist. "But I will not lie to you." Heat curled low in her stomach. Fear and want tangled together. "Why me?" she whispered. "You could have anyone." His thumb pressed into her side, grounding her. "Because you make me want more than power. You make me want quiet. And that scares me more than war." The words cracked something open. She stepped closer without realizing, her hands gripping the fabric of his shirt. "If I stay," she said, "everything changes." "Yes. There is no pretending after this." "No." Her voice shook. "And if I walk away?" He held her gaze, unblinking. "I would let you go. But it would destroy me." Truth rang between them. She searched his face. For manipulation. For games. Found none. She leaned into him, forehead resting against his chest. "Then I choose this." His breath hitched. "Say it again." "I choose you." His arms wrapped around her. Slow. Possessive. Careful. "From this moment," he said, "nothing touches you without answering to me." She closed her eyes, heart racing. And for the first time, she did not feel invisible at all. The restaurant was quiet in the way only dangerous places were. No music. No laughter. Just low voices and measured movements. Ara felt it the moment they stepped inside. The shift in air. The weight of eyes tracking them. This was not dinner. This was judgment. Dante did not release her hand. If anything, his grip tightened as they were led through a private corridor into a room lined with dark wood and shad. Men sat around a long table, each one radiating violence, dressed in tailored suits. She understood then. This was a battlefield without guns. Sergei Volkov sat opposite them, His smile was polite. His eyes were not. So this is her, he said. The secretary. The word felt sharp. Like a test. Ara kept her spine straight. Kept her gaze level. She refused to shrink. Dante answered before she could. This is Ara. Nothing else. No title. No explanation. Volkov leaned back, studying her like property. You have caused quite a disturbance, Miss Bennett. Your sister has become very expensive. Ara inhaled slowly. Said nothing. We want peace, Volkov continued. Territory. Non-interference. And something extra for the trouble. His eyes flicked to Ara again. A personal assurance. Dante's hand tightened on her thigh. A warning. A claim. No, he said. Flat. Final. Volkov smiled wider. Then the girl dies. The room went still. Ara felt the words slice through her. Felt panic surge. She moved before thinking. Before fear could stop her. I will do it. Both men turned to her. I will give you what you want. If you let my sister go. Dante stood so fast the chair scraped. His voice dropped lethal. Absolutely not. She turned to him. Eyes shining but steady. You taught me that choices have costs. This is mine. Volkov watched them with interest. How touching, he said. Dante exhaled slowly. Then something in his expression shifted. No. There is another way. The room stirred. An old rule, he continued. Older than all of us. One even you cannot refuse without losing face. Volkov's smile faltered. Trial by combat. Silence exploded. Ara stared at Dante. Heart pounding. One fight. No weapons. Winner takes all. If I win, Maya's released. You back away forever. And if you lose, Volkov asked quietly. Dante's gaze never left Ara. Then you take everything except her. Ara stepped closer to him. Voice trembling. You would risk your life. He cupped her face. Thumb brushing her cheek. I already have. Volkov stood slowly. You are certain you want this? Dante's answer was immediate. Yes. The room erupted in murmurs. Agreements whispered. Traditions invoked. Volkov extended his hand. 3 days. Dante shook it. 3 days. As they left, Ara realized something chilling. She was no longer the bait. She was the reason. And whatever happened next would change the city forever. The waiting was worse than fear. Worse than screaming. Worse than blood. 3 days stretched like a wound that refused to close. Ara woke before dawn every morning. Heart racing. Listening to the quiet hum of the penthouse. Half expecting violence to crash through the walls. Dante trained without mercy. She watched from the edge of the gym. Hands clenched. As his body moved through pain like it was an old companion. Every strike precise. Every breath controlled. Bruises bloomed across his skin. Dark and angry. And each one felt like it landed on her instead. At night he was different. Quieter. Closer. He did not sleep much. When he did, he kept her tucked against him. As if afraid she might disappear if he loosened his hold. On the second night she broke. They were standing on the balcony. The city spread beneath them. Lights flickering like distant stars. You could die, she said. The words tearing free at last. He did not deny it. I want, he replied. But even if I do, I would still choose this. Her chest ached. You say that like it is easy. It is not easy. It is necessary. She turned to face him. Eyes burning. What if I can't survive that? What if I can't live knowing you died because of me? His hands came up, cradling her face. Listen to me, Ara. I was already dead before you. I just had not stopped breathing yet. The honesty stole her breath. You gave me something worth protecting, worth fighting for. Her hands trembled as she pressed them to his chest, feeling his heart hammer. Then promise me something, she whispered. Anything. Come back to me alive. His forehead rested against hers. I will. Say it again. I will come back to you. Tears slid down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. If you win, she said, voice shaking. What happens to us? His smile was slow. Dangerous. Certain. Then you stop hiding. You stop pretending you belong behind a desk. You stay with me. In my home. In my life. His thumb brushed her jaw. And you become my wife. The words settled heavy and unreal. Ara inhaled sharply. And if you lose? His expression hardened. Then you run. You take your sister. You disappear. She shook her head fiercely. No. He stilled. I will not prepare for a world without you. His grip tightened. Ara. If you die, she continued. I die with you. Silence wrapped around them. Then he kissed her. Slow. Deep. As if memorizing her. I love you, he said against her mouth. The words changed everything. She pressed her face to his neck. I love you too. And in that moment, with the city breathing beneath them, with danger closing in, they both understood. Whatever happened in that arena, neither of them would ever belong to the world they came from again. The warehouse breathed like a living thing. Cold air thick with oil and metal. Voices low and watchful. Ara felt it before she saw it. The violence waiting. Coiled. Hungry. Dante stood across the marked circle. Shirt gone. Skin already marked from old scars and new bruises. His body was a weapon built from pain and survive. Sergei Volkov smiled. Relaxed. Confident. As if the outcome was already decided. Ara was placed behind the line. Guards on either side. Marco close enough that she could feel his presence like a wall. Do not look away, he had warned her. They want to see fear. The signal was given. The first blow came fast. Volkov moved with trained precision. A sharp strike to Dante's ribs that echoed through the space. Ara flinched but did not scream. Dante answered with force. Raw. Brutal. A hit that drove Volkov back 2 steps. The circle closed around them. Men leaning forward. Breaths held. Minutes stretched. Time lost meaning. Blood appeared. First on Dante's cheek. Then on Volkov's mouth. Ara could not stop watching. Every strike landed in her chest. Every stagger felt like the ground giving way. Dante fought like a man with nothing to lose. Volkov fought like a man who enjoyed hurting. A kick sent Dante to one knee. Ara felt her heart stop. He rose again. Eyes locked on hers for half a second. Stay with me. The look said. Her phone vibrated in her hand. Once. Twice. She ignored it. Could not look away. Another hit. Dante staggered. Caught himself. The phone vibrated again. Harder. Insistent. She looked. The screen filled with a video. Maya. Tied. Bruised. Alive. A voice off screen spoke calmly. If Valentino wins, she dies. If he loses, she dies slower. R's breath vanished. Marco leaned in. Face grim. Orders just changed. They are going to kill her no matter what. The world narrowed. The fight continued. Dante took another blow. Blood hit the concrete. Ara felt something inside her snap. The pistol was suddenly in her hand. Heavy. Real. Marco stared at her. Hesitation flickered. Send them now, she said. Voice steady. Strong. Get my sister out. If we move men now, it breaks the rules. She met his eyes. Rules do not matter if he dies. Marco nodded once, already issuing orders. In the circle, Volkov lunged, caught Dante in a choke. The crowd stirred. Ara stepped forward, heart pounding, eyes burning. This ends now. Movement to her right. A man reaching inside his jacket. Metal glinting. Time slowed. She raised the gun, pulled the trigger. The sound shattered the warehouse. The man fell, weapon clattering. Chaos erupted. Dante looked up, eyes finding hers. Pride. Shock. Something fierce. He moved, twisted, slammed Volkov into the ground. One final strike. Volkov went still. Silence fell. Marco's phone rang. We have Maya. Safe. Alive. Ara collapsed to her knees, gun slipping from her fingers. Dante was there suddenly, arms around her. Blood and sweat and heat. You did this, he whispered. Not anger. Not fear. Reverence. You became dangerous for me. She pressed her face into his chest, shaking. For you, she said. And in that moment, with the city watching, with blood on the floor, Ara understood. She was no longer the woman crying in a closet. She was the woman who changed the outcome. The silence after violence was heavier than the fight itself. It pressed down on the warehouse like a held breath that refused to release. Ara knelt on the concrete, hands shaking, ears ringing, the smell of gunpowder sharp in her lungs. For one endless second, she thought she might be sick, that her body would reject what she had just done. Then Dante touched her. His hands were warm, solid, real. He crouched in front of her, ignoring everything else. The bodies, the shouting, the weapons being lowered. His eyes searched her face with an intensity that made her chest ache. Look at me, Ara. She did. You are here. I am here. We are alive. His voice grounded her, anchored her back into herself. Marco stepped forward then, phone still in hand, expression tight but controlled. It's done, he said. Maya's safe. They have her in the car. Medical team is already with her. The words hit Ara like air, rushing back into her lungs. She sobbed. Hard. Unrestrained. Dante pulled her into him, held her without shame, without restraint. Around them, the world adjusted. Men spoke in low voices. Orders were given. Weapons were secured. The neutral representatives gathered. Faces grim. Calculating. One of them stepped forward. Older. Measured. The rules were violated first, he said. Volkov's man reached for a weapon. The trial stands. He turned to Dante. Victory is yours. The declaration rippled through the room. Dante did not react. His focus never left Ara. You shot a man, he said quietly. Not accusing. Not shocked. She nodded, tears still falling. I did. His mouth curved into something fierce. Something proud. You chose me. His thumb brushed under her eye, wiping away tears with care that felt almost unreal. You crossed the line for us. She whispered. I was afraid you would hate me. His answer was immediate. I have never loved you more. The words wrapped around her. Dangerous. Final. Later, as they walked toward the exit, Dante leaned on Marco. Injuries finally demanding attention. Ara stayed at his side, her hand locked in his. The city air hit her face. Cool. Cleansing. Black vehicles waited, engines running. As they climbed inside, She felt the weight of what they had survived settle into her bones. Dante pulled her close, his voice low against her hair. "You are not my secretary anymore." She nodded. She knew that. "You are my equal now." The car moved. Sirens distant. The city carrying on unaware. When they arrived at the hospital, she ran. Down white halls. Past startled nurses. Maya was sitting up. Bruised. Alive. Ara fell into her arms. Crying. Laughing. Breathing. When Maya looked past her, saw Dante standing there. Bloodied. Unbowed. Understanding dawned. "You went to war for her," she said. Dante nodded once. "I would do it again." Maya took Ara's hand. Squeezed it. "Then don't ever let him go." Later, when the night finally slowed, Ara stood beside Dante, watching the city from the car window. "You saved me," she said. He shook his head. "We saved each other." And as the lights blurred past, Ara knew. The woman who once hid in a closet was gone. In her place stood someone forged in fear, love, and choice. And there was no going back. 6 months later, the city looked different from this height. Not smaller, but quieter, as if it finally knew who ruled it. Ara stood by the glass watching traffic move, like veins of light. One hand resting on her stomach, the other wrapped around a mug she no longer needed. She had not cried in a closet since that day. Not because life became gentle, but because she was no longer alone. Behind her, Dante finished a call. His voice calm, controlled. The voice of a man whose power no longer needed proving. When he turned toward her, his expression changed, the hardness falling away. "There you are," he said, as if he ever lost her. "Always," she replied. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around her from behind, hands settling over her stomach with instinctive care. "Our son is restless today." She smiled, feeling the movement beneath her palm, a reminder that life had grown from violence and fear. "Who would have thought," she murmured, "that the worst day of my life would lead here?" He pressed a kiss to her hair. "I knew." She turned in his arms, studying his face. The scars, the lines etched by responsibility and survival. "You heard me crying," he said, "and I realized the world had given me something I could not afford to lose." Below them, the city breathed. Alive. Obedient. Maya laughed somewhere in the kitchen, arguing with Marco about cooking, a sound Ara once thought she might never hear again. "Family. Do you regret it?" she asked suddenly. He stilled. "Regret is a luxury of weak men." Then he softened. "But no. Never." He lifted her hand, pressed it to his chest. "You changed me, Ara. You didn't save me from darkness. You taught me how to live inside it without losing myself." She rested her forehead against his. "And you taught me that strength does not mean silence." His eyes held hers. Possessive. Tender. "From the moment I opened that closet door, you were mine." She did not flinch at the words, did not feel trapped. She felt chosen. Chosen and choosing. She thought of the woman she had been, the one who counted minutes and swallowed fear, who believed surviving meant staying unseen. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone who made decisions, who pulled triggers, who loved fiercely. The city would whisper her name now, not as a secretary, but as a queen. Dante reached into his pocket, drew out a small velvet box. She laughed softly, still dramatic. "Always." He opened it. Inside was a ring. Simple, heavy, unbreakable. "We are already married in every way that matters," he said. "But I want the world to see it." Tears blurred her vision. Not from fear, not from pain, from certainty. "Yes," she said. He slid the ring onto her finger, sealed it with a kiss. Outside, the sun dipped behind the skyline, casting gold over glass and steel. Ara leaned into him. Safe. Dangerous. Loved. The woman who once cried in a closet had risen. And the city would never forget what happened when someone tried to break what belonged to Dante Valentino and his wife.